It's time to get fueled up. What is up, guys? So today we are back with a huge announcement. The next cup for June just got announced, and we are looking at the Rainbow Cup. Wait a minute, I forgot. So you might be noticing this very nice, clean, green panel here. This is part of the new setup. I'm actually going to cut out part of my board, and we're going to put some nice little imagery right here during some deep dives, just to kind of give the video a little bit of flair. I know there are a lot of non-English speaking viewers out there, and being that Pokemon have different names in different languages, I kind of wanted to include pictures of the Pokemon, even though I do include it in the thumbnail, and then that also leaves open a fairly big spot of the board to put other information that possibly could be useful and may be relevant to some simulations. You'll have to wait and see. So getting on with the Rainbow Cup. So the Rainbow Cup just got announced today, and basically there's gonna be 5 typings. We're actually gonna have fire, grass, electric, bug, and water. That's a lot. But the way that they're restricting this is that there's only Gen 1 and Gen 2 Pokemon announced. So only Pokemon from the Kanto region and the Johto region are allowed in the tournament, which actually, if it's only those 2 regions, that actually ends up meaning that Alola is not included, which means Alolans are not included. Okay, so it's more or less, it's not just Gen 1 Pokemon and Gen 2 Pokemon, it's actually Pokemon from Kanto and from Johto, which that would in turn exclude the Alolans. You get it, you get it. So being said we have 5 typings, that does actually introduce a lot of variation in the cup, and it actually does make for a little nice, kind of like, not necessarily like a rock, paper, scissors type situation, but it does make for a nice little situation of the typings. One thing that I did find interesting is that bug type is the only type that doesn't resist itself. Water resists itself, fire resists itself, grass resists itself, and electric resists itself. So it seems like bug is kind of going to be interesting. But let's take a quick look at this. Basically, I have arrows if it's going to be super effective, and I have X's if it's not very effective or resisted. So water is going to resist itself like we said, but it's going to be super effective against fire, which in reverse is not going to be very effective up against water. So fire not very effective against water, going to be not very effective up against itself, but it will be effective against grass and bug, but both bug and grass are resisted by fire. So fire is actually a pretty decent position here, being able to target 2 different typings for super effective damage while resisting 3 different typings. Then grass is actually going to be super effective up against water, but in the reverse is not very effective. So water not very effective against grass. And then grass is actually going to resist itself, and it will actually resist the electric typing as well. Then we have electric typing, which is actually resisted amongst itself, resisted up against the grass typing, and then it's actually super effective up against the water typing. So looks like water typing may be a little bit shafted here. It's got 2 super effective typings coming at it, while only being super effective against 1 typing. Maybe they did that because of Azumarill? Then we actually have the bug typing here, which is actually going to be super effective up against grass, weak to fire, and grass is actually going to be resisted there. So the bug typing has probably, it's about the same amount of type interaction as the electric typing, but you know, I love me some bug types, so I'm a little partial to the bugs here. With our gigantic picture of all the typings here, it looks really complicated, but it's not really. Because if you think about fire, water, and grass, they're all going to be like this trinity of like effectiveness going towards each other, and then you kind of have bug in there to help target the grass, and then you have electric to help target the water, and then some other things get kind of thrown around. So it's not super complicated. The main rock, paper, scissors is the fire, water, and grass, and then you just kind of throw in the bug and the electric typing, and you make a pretty big sandwich. So with all of our cup announcements, I always end up taking a little bit of time to build the spreadsheet out, which, by the way, the spreadsheet is built. It's in the description. If you're a number cruncher like myself, you can go down there and check that out. So inside that spreadsheet, I end up making it possible to filter by bulk and stat product, and I always try to give a little bit of insight of those Pokemon, because I think that's generally a good starting place when looking at some Pokemon that you want to use in the cup. And this cup, of course, is no different, except that the bulk and the stat product is kind of weighted here. So let's actually get into these. So I wrote the top 5 of both here, but I do have top 10s to actually talk about. When we talk about the bulk, Azumarill is the bulkiest Pokemon in the cup. Having 2 typings super effective up against the water does seem to be an objective of the Sylph to kind of help mitigate that Azumarill threat, because we do know that Azumarill is super tanky. So it makes it kind of hard to actually overcome that hill, but when we have twice as many options within 2 different typings, it does kind of make that hill a little easier to climb. Shuckle. So I think Shuckle is going to be the Wobbuffet of the Rainbow Cup. So in the Nightmare Cup, Wobbuffet has a really insane bulk stat, but it's just not as useful as some people would want it to be. Shuckle, I feel like, is also going to fall into this category. Being a rock and a bug type Pokemon, it does have a fairly interesting typing inside the cup, but its abysmal attack and abysmal HP stat is really what's going to hold it back, so therefore it's not going to be as great as you'd hope. Then we actually have Jumpluff, which is a grass type Pokemon, which is okay, that's pretty nice. Dugong and Lapras actually roll out the top 5 bulk there. Rounding out the top 10, in number 6 we do have Lantern, then Mantine, Suicune, Forretress, and actually Tentacruel. So do you see a big pattern there? There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different typings in the top 10 that are water. So there's a lot of water going on in the top 10 bulk, which means that there's going to be quite a few specialists out there that end up being grass and electric, which is always nice. I'm glad that those Pokemon are in there. Now let's actually move on to some stat products here. So our top 5 is actually Dugong, Lantern, Lapras, Mantine, and Suicune. All 5 are water, which is... Rounding out the top 10, we actually have Forretress, Wartortle, Meganium, Tentacruel, and Quagsire. Here again, that's 5, 6, 7, 8 water types. Holy cow. Water is the bulk of the cup, guys. It's going to be a pretty big feat to actually overcome some of these bulky type Pokemon, but that's why we do have these 2 typings, which I really do like. I've already said it several times in this short video, but I love that. I love it. Interestingly though, I do like that Fortress actually shows up in both of those lists. Bug and Steel is kind of interesting, even though it's going to be super duper weak to that fire typing. It actually could have a spot in the cup, which I think is rather interesting. And then Meganium, of course, Meganium is actually a pretty big problem in the general Great League Cup, so no surprise that it's actually in here with Frenzy Plant. It's going to be a big deal. It's going to be a really powerful grass attacker in this cup alone. I like that Wartortle actually beats out Blastoise in terms of stat product. That's actually pretty cool to see. Wartortle could be kind of interesting because the entire Squirtle line is pretty bulky in itself anyways. Tentacruel here, kind of interesting because it does carry that poison typing. It could have some interesting use cases in this cup, but then again, it is going to be weak to 2 different typings. And then Quagsire, it's always cool to see the Mud Boys back again. But, I mean, this is really interesting. This is already shaping up to be a really, really crazy cup. So, just like I promised with you guys, the floor is open to you. Any deep dives that you are looking forward to see, I need to know down in the comments below. This is the first month that I am not choosing the first Pokemon that we go with. I'm letting you guys choose. Today and tomorrow, vote by posting in the comments whichever Pokemon you want to see. We're actually going to take a look at whatever you guys comment the most of. Whatever one Pokemon is commented the most amongst the comments from today and tomorrow, you guys can vote for whoever you want. We'll start there and then we'll just keep on going. So any Pokemon that you can think of, definitely make sure you put it down in the comments. I'm not going to start the deep dives until Monday though. So be on the lookout on Monday for the very first deep dive into the Nightmare Cup. Coming up this week actually, so tomorrow you actually should see the budget video for the Nightmare Cup, how to build a budget team. I do have 3 different categories this month, the 60,000 dust team, a 120,000 dust, and a 180,000 dust. Just kind of giving some variety there. And then I do have some regional practice videos. We recorded in the Discord, I actually recorded 4 different matches. I did split it up amongst 2 different videos just because it kind of got to be lengthy. It was going to be like an hour-long video. I did cut it in half. I think it's a 25-minute and a 22-minute or something like that. but I did cut them in half just to kind of alleviate some of that super long viewing. So I did do that. That is coming out, I think, Tuesday and Wednesday. So I'm super excited, guys. Like, I'm so excited for this Rainbow Cup. I'd love to hear what you guys think about it, of course, down in the comments below. Do you like the fact that it's only Kanto and Johto? Do you like the fact that there's 5 typings instead of 4 like we've had in the past, or even 3 like we're currently working with in the Nightmare Cup? And do you think Alolans should have been included? I personally, I'm not partial to the Alolans. I'm not really worried that they weren't. I do consider them a Gen 7 Pokemon because they are from the Alola region, so it does make sense why they excluded them, but what are your guys' thoughts? Let me know what you're already cooking up about the Nightmare Cup down in the comments below. Always remember that if you like to like videos, you can do that, but if you don't, you can be that guy. Otherwise, let me know what you have to say down there so that I can read it and try to reply, because sometimes I forget. But thanks for watching so much. Until our next video, I will catch you then.